everyone. Before we start with the session, I would like to inform you all to please complete your NMIMS application process before your NMAT by GMAC exam date in order to be a part of NMIMS. So if you haven't done it, so exams has already begun from today. The first step towards getting somewhere is to decide you're not going to stay where you are. Hello everyone, good evening, and thank you so much, for investing your time with us today. My name is Rakshit, and I am President Student Council 2021 NMIMS Hyderabad and the moderator for today's session. But before we dive into the session, I want to take the temperature of the room. So kindly show off your hands. How many of you are aware of NMIMS Hyderabad? Can we have a yes no on the chat box or maybe raise your hands? All right. How many of you are aware of a new campus, Jatchila campus, which is nearby to Hyderabad? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Our goal today is that whatever your queries or questions that you may have before selecting a B school for higher studies may be answered by us. So here's the format to give you an idea of what to expect today. We'll take a few moments for introducing our director, Mr. Tapan Kumar Panda. I'll kick off the conversation asking questions to draw out some of the insights to successfully reach out to our today's agenda. And then the second half of our time today, we'll open up the floor to give you an opportunity to ask specific questions that you've been thinking about, to help you navigate the upcoming opportunities and challenges to be more successful in your career. Let's get started with the introduction of Dr. Tapan Kumar Panda, Director, NMIMS Hyderabad. There's one thing crucial to growth, it's change. So if we don't change, we don't grow. An award winning academician, a writer, an expert in marketing and branding, several books, awards, and recognitions all under this one name. That's our guiding light. Welcoming our director, Mr. Tapan Kumar Panda. During his sterling career spanning over 28 years, he has been a part of academic faculty at India's top business school, IIM Lucknow, Kozhikode, and Indore, besides several other institutions of repute. He has also been a dean at Jindal Global Business School, founding dean at the School of Management Studies BML, and director at Great Lakes Institute of Management. He is also a visiting professor to University of Bordeaux, University of Paris, University of Maryland in USA, and China University of Politics and Law. Dr. Panda has taught and trained senior executives in the areas of marketing, branding, advertising, customer relationship management, and life skills. A true wanderlust, movie buff, theatre enthusiast, and a poet, Dr. Panda's interests and hobbies are as diverse and exciting as his professional career has been. He runs Tapasya Foundation that works in various social sectors. So we are extremely grateful and delighted to be under the guidance of one such exemplar personality. Welcome to the session, sir.
Thank you.
Today our audience are MBA aspirants, and amidst this pandemic, they have a lot of questions in mind regarding the new normal for an MBA grad. So now I would like to ask a few questions that are some common queries from the student's perspective for selecting a particular B school. Yeah.
If you have any
So
questions.
yeah, the first question is, meanwhile, if any student has any question, they can put up the question in the chat box. What are the unique features of teaching and learning at NMIMS Hyderabad? Also, please throw some light on the diversified experience that faculty has at NMIMS Hyderabad.
Thank you all the students for joining this event. I used to thank Rakshit also for this nice introduction that he has done. So if you add on into what he has told, if you combine them together, may that go to 100 years or 150 years of my life. Looks like that way. But yes, when you join academics and you want to do good in academics, you keep on working, keep on experimenting. Doesn't matter even if it is academics, if it is a professional life also, because I had a combination stint with corporate as well as professional in that sense. I had two corporate stints in between, two research stints and two corporate stints in between this long academic career. So that's why I'll bring in a lot of stuff from the industry side into academic curriculum. So also from the research side to academic curriculum, so that the curriculum itself becomes refreshing in that case. I can see that students have started asking questions in between. I faced a problem under academic background, graduation degree name. I could not find BB under it. What should I write? I guess you can take help of some of our students, ex-students, like you are meeting Rakshit, or some of our admission team people who will help you about how should you go and fill up if there is a challenge. I think there should be a Bachelor of Commerce or Bachelor program degree there. So you can answer bachelor's program. If you don't find any BBA, I don't find a reason why there should not be a BBA. There should be a BBA there also, because we also like BBA students there. But it was very interesting to look at the first poll that Rakshit did. That majority of you have seen, you have heard, and you have read about Narsi Munji Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai. And so I could see the answers yes, yes, yes coming there. And when it comes to Hyderabad campus, I could see that there is no, 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 no there, which is very good because this looks like a branding class because I'm a branding professor where the category is well developed. The category development index is high and the brand development index is low. I think that is an interesting place in life to work on where the brand development index is low. But you need to understand that among all the campuses of NMIMS, in terms of square footers, acres, the biggest one is in Jachella. The biggest one, around 100 acres of campus, you find in Hyderabad campus. So we claim that we are the largest campus in that as far as geographic area is concerned. The second part is where we are located. You understand that government of us made policies that the government has opened up special economic zones. So we are located in one special economic zone. So very interestingly, that special economic zone is called green economic zone. That means we don't create much pollution there. So it is not that we are located somewhere as an academic institution and the industries are located elsewhere. We are located together. So in a typical linguistic term, we symbiotically exist within the industrial areas there. So whenever you drive down to our campus, you find an Aurobindo Pharma there. You find companies which are making ventilators. You find companies which are making into bulk drugs. So majority of the pharma majors are around us. That is where we are located there. So when you come to my campus, other than seeing this grand campus with so many large buildings that are coming up and the labs which are coming up there. So what exactly do you see in this campus, which is internal to the campus? So there are two parts to the story. One is called the visible part to the story and the other is called invisible part to the story. And digital technology has made a lot of visibles to invisible. For example, if you come to my library and resource center, you find X number of visible books, but you find out 10X number of invisible books, journals, and periodicals which are available there. Of course, you end up in a Bloomsburg terminal there because that's what attracts your generation most. That if you wish to understand finance, you will probably like to jump into a terminal and try to see how you can work that terminal and learn courses that will make you rich overnight. So I'm not trying to promise you that you join a course and you become Warren Buffett overnight, but definitely we have active terminals that takes you closer to the market, stock markets, both Nasdaq as well as Indian stock markets, where you can go and simulate. Because in our course also we do a lot of experiential learning and simulation courses. So in the simulation courses, you get NMMS dollars, and you can work with those dollars and you can trade on your stocks. And if you lose, probably don't lose anything as such, compared to when you go to the stock market and you invest money and you lose the real money. But you know that management of failure is more important than management of success because management of failure never makes you to fail again. But if you can manage your success, there's a likelihood that you may fail in future. So that is why this kind of simulations and experiential learning courses will help you to really understand what not to do than what to do. It's very important in life what you not to do than what you need to do there, right? You should understand as a manager what you should not do than what you do there. So you come and you meet a large data resource center, which has got a lot of databases, like I say, emerging markets. You come and see my Bloomsburg terminals where you can go and we have got great classrooms and those facilities, which of course all top schools will have. There's a hygienic factor these days. All of them will have. But what is our focus? That is a question. What is our focus? Our focus is holistic learning, right? So some schools can make you very good in marketing. Some school can make you very good in finance. But do they really make you a complete manager? Is there something called holistic learning that happens? I understand since you all of you are bachelor and majority of you are engineering and technology students, then what a holistic learning learning looks like an alien subject to you. But if you look back to the world, some of the top schools and their alumni, and you look at the white collar crimes which are done in the world, you will find out a large part of those white collar crimes can be attributed to management graduates or business graduates. What we have done is we have trained them so good in skill and knowledge, and we have failed miserably in teaching them what is wrong and right. So, as a result of that, in their life, they have perceived what looks very attractive to them, and in the process, they lose back at some point of time because they don't understand what is good and what is bad in that sense. So, holistic learning looks beyond the books and tries to take you towards that. I'll give an example. For example, a majority of you have come out of good families, middle class families, went to the top schools, studied there, and your world is confined to those set of people who have. But there's a large chunk of the population who have not. So when you think about entrepreneurship, there is something called social entrepreneurship. So you can be a techpreneur, you can be a business entrepreneur. But what is a challenge for a business graduate today is to create more number of jobs, today to bring more social equity. So if you have to create social equity as a business student, you are the first one who can do than others because you can make economic surpluses that can be distributed across the society and that can create social equity. So our outreach programs that we have planned for your class, where we are going to adopt number of villages around our school, that will make you to go to those places, spend some time there, understand those problems of those places, work with the public institutions and the governments, and try to solve those kind of problems. That is something which is very unique in that sense, so that you can learn about that part. So being sensitive to the society is very important, one dimension of that part. So typically you find out people only teach you about being profit sensitive. But what I'm talking now is to make you to social sensitive in the terms of to the people around you. Similarly, you know that we are passing through a consumption spree where we are eating up everything. It looks like one day we will eat up everything, the whole world. Our race is going to eat up other worlds. Rest of the resources are in depletion. Tigers are depletion, elephants are depletion, birds are in depletion. Everything is going down. Only we are the race which is growing up and down. What I'm trying to say is that also being sensitive to the environment is very important. That brings us to the idea of sustainability. So we look at social equity, we look at sustainability, we look at business profitability. If you have if you have a course that focuses on all these three of them, then I think you will become a more sustainable manager, balanced manager with equilibrium, and you make rational decisions. You make very ethically correct decisions when you come there. So this comes from the approach side, what my professors are going to teach to you from an approach point of view. Now, if you put out the course of one MBA school versus other MBA school, 90% of the course will look very similar. Same set of courses are being offered to them. Maybe 10-15% will be very unique. But we keep on experimenting our courses. And I lead that initiatives because of my exposure to the Western education, whereby we can go back and look at what else is happening elsewhere and how do we really bring those things into our classrooms. So we try to bring out newer courses to the classrooms. We understand there is something called Industry 4.0, and whatever workforce we are creating, they are going to be used for Industry 4.0. So we make it sure that the courses of Industry 4, the requirements or the skill requirements of Industry 4.0 becomes a part of our program, so that no company will invest on you further after you complete your MBA and then make you industry ready in that sense. So that our focus has been more on creating courses that talks about artificial intelligence, that talks about robotics, managerial side of robotics in that sense, that talks about Industry 4.0. And it is important for all professors to sensitize the students about what happens in that space. So also you understand that the business is undergoing a transformation. Probably in the 90s and 2000s, people talked about business undergoing a change, but today it is going to a transformation, and that transformation is digital transformation. So when the business is going to digital transformation and all of you are studying something which is brick and mortar, you naturally become obsolete when you are ready for the workforce. In that case, there are very specific courses that we have worked on business transformation. You must be knowing about this part that Hyderabad campus focuses on IPR and cyber laws or cyber crime part of it. We are a tech hub in India. Hyderabad is a tech hub like Bangalore or Pune. So most of the research, many of the researchers will be focusing their work. Students and faculty members will be focusing their work in these emerging domains. So you may end up making an MBA program where you have a couple of courses which are into cyber laws, courses which are into forensic sciences, courses are into pharmaceutical sciences. Because when you look back to our school, the campus itself has multiple schools. So we have got School of Business Management, we have School of Pharmaceutical Science and Technology Management, we have School of Science, where our focus is on business analytics. By the time you are on campus at Hyderabad, you will have an IBM Business Analytics Lab. So this IBM Business Analytics Lab, IBM is going to set up with us. And in the future, you are going to have IBM Cognos and Infosphere. You understand Infosphere is used for big data analytics. So those things we are going to make available so students can work on real-time projects. They can get projects from Google and work on real-time projects. In my previous assignments, I have worked with Google and we have created flu maps across the world, which explains about where the flu starts and how the flu spreads across the world. And one of the unique propositions of Hyderabad campus has been in the field of human resource management. We have great professors from human resource management who have come from industry with proper academic backgrounds. And since we work in a pharmaceutical hub and in an industrial area, which is emerging industrial area, so there's a huge demand for human resource in this area. So we'll be able to provide good quality human resource managers in this area from our school there. We have also partnered with T-Hub, the technology hub of Hyderabad, Telangana's technology hub, and we are building the culture of entrepreneurship. You understand that we are providing coaching and mentoring services to all the startup managers, startup owners, those who are in T-Hub, those who are focusing on technology, particularly edutech space. So as a director, my job is to see that how do I really inculcate a very fresh curriculum into the program so that it is comparable to all the programs across the world. How do I really create situations where my students can go out of their classrooms and try to understand the context, whether it is a social context or a business context? How do I take my students and put them very closer to the industry so that they have projects with the industry, they have internship with the industry, and they try to solve industry problems through consulting exercises. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with our e-sale, which is entrepreneurship sale, and we have planned out a very optimistic program of how exactly we are going to involve Hyderabad Angels, Chennai Angels, and all other angel investors and build or strengthen our incubation center. Because I understand when a student of science who is an expert in analytics and a student of pharmacy and a student of business come together, there can be a deadly combination of setting up an enterprise which is never going to fail. And these enterprises can be mentored by very senior faculties. We have very senior faculties. They've been run from top schools of India. So they will be able to really see that the business succeeds. And of course, we are inside a industrial area. So obviously they'll get a chance also to get industrial mentors. So they'll have academic mentors and industrial mentors. I think other than getting all good companies, those who come to recruit in our campus, I also look at how do I really become create students who are job creators and job seekers. So this is at the philosophy level. What I try to do, I call them columns. So my column number one is refreshing curriculum, a global curriculum. My column number two is industry institute interactions that I do. My column number three is that my faculty and students can co-create knowledge, so they become knowledge creator. And my column number four is, other than being a seeker, there should be somebody who can bring a large change into the society, whether they become entrepreneurs, whether they become social entrepreneurs, techpreneurs, edutech entrepreneurs, in whichever field they work on. I know many of my old students from IIMS. I taught for long years in IIMS. They do a couple of years of their job and then they come out and they start their enterprises. And as teachers or professors, I have mentored them and made some of them really, really successful. I've written that in my brand management book with the brands with which I have worked. And I would like to see that these 2 years that these aspiring students spend on my campus, they also invite those spirits and ideas that I have borrowed from those schools. And then they become one of those so that a couple of years down the line, when I see them in an airport, in an international airport, I'll feel proud that I taught them, they came to my school and they did great in the world. So this is something that I wanted to talk about. How is Hyderabad campus? How different we are from others? We are different because we bring holistic education. We are different because we are talking about experiential learning. We are different because we are talking about doing simulations before you real time you make mistakes there. We are different because we take you closer to the industry and close to the society. I think people will say placement is an important factor. That's a factor which is given in my school. All my students get placed. So that's not a concern in that sense. But I'm trying to look beyond the idea of just a placement or looking at your ROI and trying to see how can I create great managers. That's what a teacher wants in life. Rakshit, let's move ahead. I think I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Sir, just another question because I think we have covered most of the points. What exposure, or basically how can you say that how the student life is at NMIMS Hyderabad, or how do you want to describe student life at NMIMS Hyderabad?
I look at students' life in three ways. Number one is student life in classrooms. What happens inside the classroom, whether the proper case method is followed, whether they have ability to express their views, whether the teachers are taking my students equal to themselves. You know that when you lecture, the student is passive and the teacher is a source of knowledge. But when you go for a case class or a simulation class where the problem is a natural problem, a real problem, both student and teachers are seeking answers. In that situation, they are at equal footing. So on our campus, students are on equal footing like their professors in seeking the knowledge. So the first part. Outside the classrooms, within the context of that, we have various kind of clubs and committees. They learn the first art of managing things at the university level, at the school level. They manage their clubs. There's a marketing club, there's a film club. We just finished an HR conclave. We have some of the very brightest minds of India, those who came to speak in the HR conclave. We are entering into another conclave, which is an entrepreneurship conclave that we are going to have there. So they will find themselves outside their textbooks doing a lot of activities here, depending on their aptitude and interest areas. Yes, it's a huge campus, and by the time they come back to this campus, there'll be a lot of physical facilities in terms of sports, in terms of taking care of their other kind of growth, like a gym will be there, sports fields will be there. That's what is being planned in that case, so that the physical well-being is taken care of, the mental well-being is taken care of. So these are some of the things that they are going to experience. It is not going to be just books and books in that sense. So they take back their learning to 24/7 in that case. And I know that Rakshit class has got a lot of activities they do, a lot of competitions they do among students within the school, within the schools, within the campus, outside the school, across all the campuses. They have some relationship with Dare to Compete, and they're getting ready for the TEDx talk on the first week of December. Maybe some of you can join if you are planning to join our school. You can look at the TEDx Hyderabad, NMIS Hyderabad TEDx talk also. So that's what you are going to do. So this is what I expect. If I say holistic environment should have studies, interactions, intellectually stimulating environment, and physical well-being around there, plus social commitments that we have talked about.
Sir, my last question is that what is the expectation of the recruiter from an MBA graduate in this changed time, and how does NMMS Hyderabad prepare its students for the same? Because I see many of the students are asking questions of what skills are required, and so what are the expectations of the recruiter in this time?
Expectation of recruiters change, right?
Yes,
If you
yes,
look at a recruiter who comes from a public sector enterprise, he looks a very disciplined and well-mannered student. All right. But when you look at to the private sector where the competition matters, nobody recruits a student who gets 10 CGPA just for the sake of it, right? They look for somebody who is a problem solver, right? They look for somebody who is a critical thinker. They look for somebody who is an empathetic listener. The course is designed for building those kind of skills. You can get a CGPA in marketing or finance or HR, but have you got those kind of managerial skills which are required there? Who is an empathetic listener? There's a physical listener, like all of them are listening to me, but an empathetic listener will always go to the other person and try to listen from their viewpoint. So if you want to be a good decision maker, you should have a very high level of empathetic listening skills. Now, who is a critical thinker? You can't really brand somebody as a critical thinker, but I remember traveling with one of the members of Niti Aayog. I'll just say as a joke, you may take that part. So we landed up in a coffee shop in US, right? And they were saying a coffee which is being brewed is $5. But when I looked at the component wise, water will be 50 cents, coffee is 20 cents, cup rental will be this much. And suddenly the critical thinker calculated all that and found out this is 350. So while I was sipping a coffee, being a professor sipping a coffee of 5, the critical thinker looked that part and saved $1.5. So critical thinking is very important. It is not that when you feel a problem, then you become a critical thinker. Critical thinking is a mental asylum, a mental process whereby you can follow that part, right? So Industry 4.0 as well as the emerging in industrial scenario today expects that you should be a critical thinker, you should be a problem solver. The problem of this is because the problem that you are going to face in future are not structured problems. The problem you are going to face are unstructured problems with high level of uncertainty. When a manager goes and looks at unstructured problems with high level of uncertainty, in that situation, unless he has got these kind of skills, he's not going to be successful in life. That is very important in that case. Our courses are designed in that part, so that how do you design the course? It's very important. We have industry committees. So industry people give their feedback, what is the requirement, and on the basis of that, we designed our courses. So industry requirements are these. Other than being domain knowledge and the functional skills, they want to see a student who is a critical thinker, who is a problem solver, who is a good decision maker, who doesn't use his emotions while making rational decisions. And since he has simulated so much during the course, through simulations and experiential learning, then obviously he will take decisions which will be more accurate compared to a student who has just done great in the grades only.
All right, sir. Thank you. Can we now take the questions from the audience if they have
Yeah,
any?
it's fine. It's fine.
Anyone wishes to unmute themselves and probably say the question that you have or queries? So, sir, I think Saili has a question that I would like to know about the admission to PGDM along MBA as it is not available in the application form.
We have converted our PGDM to an MBA program now. So when you are applying, because we are deemed to be university now, so when you are applying, you will be applying for a MBA program. But if you are looking for an executive, if you are an executive and you're looking for an executive program, which is a 20 months program, then you should apply for a PGDM program. Otherwise, it is an MBA program that you should apply for.
Sir, Ali has a question that is it possible to do MBA in pharmaceutical with background of BCom graduate?
I don't understand what do you mean MBA in pharmaceutical management or pharmaceutical marketing. It all depends on what electives you choose. You can choose marketing electives, you can choose finance electives, you can go to the pharma school, get electives from pharma school also. You can go to the School of Commerce, look at some of their commerce and banking courses. That's the benefit of studying an integrated campus, that you can look across the schools and you can take courses from other schools also. So if you want to measure in courses which will lead into pharmaceutical marketing, obviously you'll go and pick up those kind of courses. We don't force feed electives on students. The students choose electives, and once they choose their electives, they can decide whether they'll be MBA HR or MBA Finance or MBA Pharma or MBA Marketing. It all depends on what are the courses that you are taking. But I suggest that at this point of time, you should not join a program thinking that you will do. I think it is important for you to spend 1 year and try to understand where is your aptitude, what we used to do now. And in the latter part, you decide what electives you should take. I've seen many of them coming, oh, we are going to study HR. But then at the end of the first year, all of them jump up into marketing. And many of them have been very successful marketers. So I suggest that don't keep any preconceived notion of what electives you want to take, because you've just finished your graduation, and the way graduation subjects are taught are very different than professional courses in MBA program. You need to understand your niche on part of it. Once you are very sure about that part of it, you can choose it.
Rishabh has a question. How
Hmm.
can one make their application stand out or make oneself stand out? Because in today's world, every other person is trying to do an MBA.
I told you while you are in the application stage to join an MBA program, of course, we are going to measure your leadership skills. We're going to look at your other aptitudes during our interviews and group discussions there. Your ability to persuade others and your ability to receive others' opinion are very important in a managerial context. And while you are a student in the business school, of course, you have to build your own portfolio, the kind of projects you do, the kind of industry internships that you will do, the kind of platforms that you use to brand yourselves. All those things will come into picture so that your profile is different than others' profiles. So you have to consciously invest on yourself for over 2 year period of time to make yourself as a personal brand. So there are many ways you can build your personal brand. How does your personal brand look like? Are you writing your blogs? Are you in social media? Are you talking crap on social media or you are talking sense in social media? What are the articles you have written on your LinkedIn page? How many competitions you have participated? So if you are investing time and money, obviously you like to build yourself as a brand, and we will help you in the process. The school itself will help you so that you stand out. End of the course, you are not just an ordinary MBA. You stand out very distinctively. But that process of being distinctiveness doesn't come at the end of the course. It starts at the beginning of the course, and you built it over a period of time over 2 years. Nobody will go to Rakshit and say whether you have leadership skills or not. He has already proven that he has got leadership skills.
So Prashant has a question
Hmm.
that NMIMS is famous for its Mumbai branch. So can you tell us in depth about the placement of NMIMS Hyderabad?
Yeah, we announce our placement records, right? We announce our placement records. So when a company comes to one campus, Mumbai campus, and since there is competition there, it is natural for them to visit other campuses also. I think NMIMS Hyderabad is not 2 year old; it's already 10 year old. So that is why it has got a strong placement base. There are many companies which visit campus, which also visit to that campus. So in that sense, I don't find there is a challenge for an NMIMS student not to get placed. All of them get placed. So Hyderabad campus will have its own placement process, and its students will get placed.
So Vinisha has a question. What are the chances of qualifying into NMIMS?
I don't know how do I answer this question that her chance of being selected into NMIMS program. I think you try to do your exams well and prepare for your GD and Viva well, and participate in different kind of simulations there. I'm pretty sure you must have looked into your profile beyond your courses and degrees in graduation. You must have got something that you have done as a social worker. You must have done something as a community leader. You must have some hobbies that makes you different from others. So there are some other activities that you must have spent time over the last 5 6 years, which will make you distinctive and will give you some brownie points compared to the scores that you have got there. So that is what it's a tough competition, I know, but I expect that you have built yourself a brand, and in the interview panel, you have to convince your teacher that you are a brand in itself. So your probability of success will be higher.
Anshul asks that does NMIMS also consider academic like other B schools?
Previous academics or current academics? Hmm.
Anshul, can you just put it in the chat box or unmute yourself and answer this?
Which academic mean is grades before he joins our program? What is scored in class 10, what is scored in class 12th, and what is scored in graduation? Does he mean by that?
Uh, I think yes, sir.
Yeah, that constitute a part of the selection process, not whole of the selection process. Obviously, this part is there for academics. There's a part for your performance in the entrance examination. There is a part which will be for PI and GDPI part of it. That so a combination of that decides what is there, and there's also a part of your personality, your other activities. Just I have referred about that part. So it's a combination of 4 5 things, and academics is one of them, right? Obviously, we will, like you, prefer a top business school to join. We will also prefer a good student to join with us. I'm not saying that academically very bright student to join in that. I was very bright student as as a academically very bright, but I ended up becoming a professor, not a manager there. So it is not necessary that all those who have academically bright at the top end, they end up becoming a manager there. Many of them prefer to do research and be in academics, but you should have a fair representation of your performance in your academics.
What are the skills required for an MBA in HR before joining an MBA course that will help us in industry, and what kind of job roles and works are assigned to an MBA professional?
See, as far as this period of time which you are working on, I expect that you should look at Coursera and other MOOC programs and try to take up more and more subjects like learning and development, on training, on change management, all those things you should look up now. When you join to these programs, obviously you'll be looking at human resource planning, you'll be looking at your training and development skills, you'll be looking at your learning and development part, you'll be looking how you play a role of a change manager. So there are various profiles in HR that you look for when you join. So initially you'll join in HR operations, but as you move ahead, naturally you'll be looking into various subdomains of HR and you become a specialist of that domain.
So there's one more question from Anush. He asked that do arts graduate from tier 2 college have a lower chances of getting through interview?
What do you think? Why should I be biased about this? I think you understand that in IIMS also they have started now talking something called equity, and they are giving more scores for the students who are non-engineer scores, non-engineering students. So everywhere, top schools, everywhere they're looking at non-engineering graduates inside the classrooms. So why should somebody have this kind of a mental blockage that I have studied arts, so I will not get into an MBA program? I think in the first class of our organization structure class, the professor teaches management is an art or science. So there is a school which says that management is an art. So I don't think that whether you have done engineering or art is something which is going to stop you from getting selected to a business school. Dominantly, people prefer engineers because of analytical skills, because they do problem solving so much that their analytic skills are better. So being an art student, if your analytical skills are good and you can prove that in your GDPI, why not? You will bring music to the classroom, you will bring sociology to the classrooms, you will bring English literature to the classrooms. You'll bring so many subjects to the classroom to make a class very interesting, which is predominantly dominated by engineers who only know numbers. So I don't find there is anything wrong in a student who has done graduation in art subject not coming to a business school. I'll prefer to take this student so that he or she brings a new dimension to the process of learning inside the campus.
Sir Masoom asked that is work experience a requirement for admission in MBA program?
Work experience is preferred, but not necessarily that if you don't have work experience, you will not get selected. Obviously, if you have got some couple of years of work ex inside the classrooms, you tend to talk more about from your experience than the books that you have read. It's preferred. It's preferred, but that doesn't stop somebody from without work experience not being selected in that.
Sir Tabassum is asking how to make sure I get a call from NMIMS. Will NMAT score be enough?
Do well in the exam. Do well in your NMAT examinations. Try to undergo those rigorous training of self-learning methods for personal interview and GDVD part of it. That build a good portfolio for your brand to present yourself during your interview time. I think that will make it a success. But I don't have a leisure. I don't have a magical formula that will say that okay, you take this and then you become a part of NMIMS. Let me tell the fact that we get around 55-60,000 applications, and we have to select only a couple of hundreds of students. So it's natural for students to compete, but don't lose the battle before you fight. Go and fight your word. Try to do well, prepare well, fight your word. Why not? You'll succeed.
So one last question from Nikhil. This is in regard to MBA and business analytics. So are there any prerequisites required for the course, such as coding language like Python, R, or any other languages?
I think this is the biggest confusion many students have. It's not it. And if they want to study analytics, they should know mathematics and statistics in that case. In that case, what is the role of that software which has been coded and prepared? So you need to understand what is business analytics. Business analytics is not statistics. Job of business analytics to diagnose the problem and predict. So diagnose the problem is a job which is done by the softwares that you use inside the classroom. Where the prediction is required and the strategy to be built in is your intelligence which comes into the picture. Python will teach you in Python in the course. R is statistics, no? SPSS, R, all that part is statistics. So we finish all this part in a couple of months, first 2-3 months, where we take you to Cognos, Infosphere, IBM Watsons. Think on those directions. You just look at the face of a person, use artificial intelligence and try to find out what is the mood of the person. So where does statistics come into picture? IBM Watson comes into the picture there. And we do business analytics, which is qualitative as well as quantitative. The real kind of business analytics is related to predictive analytics and formative analytics, not about knowing only statistics or only Python or R part of it. It's not that. I don't think if you look back to all those top BA scholars in the world also, not all of them know Python or R in that sense. There are softwares which will help you processing your data. You should know how to use that. And then the balance part is your interpretations and your strategy formulations. That is where it comes. Otherwise, the course would have been statistical analysis or mathematical analysis, something like that. The course will not be called business analytics. It's called business analytics because you have to make decisions. And today's manager cannot make decisions just by whim, just by guesswork. He has to make decisions based over the data which is available in his hand and projections for the future. Data is occurrence as well as data that constrains the occurrence there, right? There's a boundary and how much you have scored within the boundary. Basis that when you go to IPL next year auction, then we decide whether you will pay whether you will buy X player or you will buy Y player. I'm saying because I'm enrolled with Chennai Super Kings. So you'll buy this player or you'll buy that player, that you decide. That's where the decision comes there. But of course, you are keying in all the data of that person, Ranji Trophy performance, his match performance, his last IPL performance, number of times he has been injured, and where the games are going to be played there. All those matter comes into the picture. You understand that Chennai did very bad this time because they thought when they selected the players thinking that it is going to be held in India and they have captive Chennai cricket field for them. But they ended up somewhere else with so many injuries. They never could estimate all those problems. But when you, I think the best way to understand what is business analytics is to see the IPL auction and see how these people are keying into their computers and watching it. To understand there are multiple programs which are running there to find out people. Sreya is asking about doing the integrated MTech, BPharm MTech program. I think we have time for that. So please keep on watching. We have very good and successful program at Hyderabad. So to keep on tracking our websites and look at our announcements, because we are amidst a lot of pharmaceutical companies. That is why students find it more interesting to join that program. So keep a watch on this part. Currently, we are discussing about NMAT examinations. Is there any other question?
I think Sir Nikhil has asked a question. How well does an online course goes in contrast to a classroom MBA, as now the situation is not good and there's an uncertainty of future too?
I don't know whoever projected future as certain. Future is always uncertain. It's not it. The degree of uncertainty has increased. Otherwise, you don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. And that's what is the uncertainty all about. So as a manager, you try to estimate, you try to take assumptions to understand future and make decisions today. So online course goes in contrast to a classroom MBA. I think online courses are supplementing. They're supplementing to a classroom program. I think everybody is moving towards a phygital model. There's a physical aspect and a digital aspect of education there, but nobody can really replace a classroom MBA program in that sense, because you understand that you need to see people. There's a peer-to-peer learning, there's a group behavior learning, there's a team-based learning. Doesn't matter how close you take it an online platform, but you see a virtual image. You don't see a human being who breathes and smokes and talks. So that is why it is not possible for anybody to really go and entirely replace an MBA program with an online program there. There's a question, why is NMIMS Hyderabad mentioned under off-campus program? We have 4 campuses. We have more campuses now. We have a Mumbai campus, Navi Mumbai campus, Bangalore campus, Hyderabad campus, Indore campus. These are all our campus programs.
Sir Pratnesh has written a question. How to know if a person is made for an MBA? Will work experience help? And what a good portfolio would consist of?
A person is made for MBA is where we will be worried about. When we select you, we'll find it out. And if you guys are going to a coaching school, they will tell you that this is a stereotype of a manager and we are going to groom in that way. So when you come to our interview tables, we change that stereotypes. We look for something. But of course, if you are reading a bit on internet and you are trying to look at some of the top leaders, world's top leaders, and try to see their young ages, how they have grown up. If you're role modeling somebody, you can find out what goes into make a successful MBA student. You interact with some of the very senior alumni of a school. They will tell you how their life journey has been, right? That helps in that case. What a good portfolio would consist of is, of course, your academic credentials, your extracurricular activities, your social leadership skills, the awards that you have won over a period of time as a student there. Anything that doesn't make you to fit into a typical grad student who focuses on studies and only studies. We need to see your leadership side. We need to see your business acumen. We need to see your social skills. That are the parts which would go into your portfolio. Now, the next question says, MBA HR, which campus is better? I will not answer this question because I don't want to say to that my Hyderabad campus is better, because I'm a part of NMIMS. For me, all campuses are equal. I can tell you that my teacher, my professor, I have got very good professors. And since you are very close to large pharmaceutical companies and you are in a city which is a high-tech city there, your MBA HR exposure is higher compared to some other places where you don't have those kind of companies or you don't have those kind of business ecosystem. That's what is I'm talking about. Is the NMIMS Navi Mumbai campus good like in case of placements? I can't answer this question at this point of time because it's a young school, 2-3-year-old school, but obviously it is located in Mumbai. So since it is located in Mumbai and large number of corporate headquarters are in Mumbai, obviously there is something called a place effect. So they'll obviously have very good placements because of the place effects there. See, you need to understand one thing, that across the school, our curriculum is same. The courses that a student reads in Mumbai and the course that a student reads in Navi Mumbai or Indore or in Hyderabad or Bangalore is same. I'm not saying similar, they're same. The same case is taught in all the schools. The same training program goes across the schools there. We don't follow separate kind of course structures or content of the course across schools, not different from one another. The same thing which is being taught across all the schools there. All our resources are shared, faculty resources, library resources, online resources are shared, all cases are shared. So it's very similar to all the schools there. It is not that you are choosing between brand A or brand B. You are actually choosing brand A. Within that, you are choosing A1, A2, A3, A4. But brand A is archaical umbrella brand. The philosophy of the brand is reflected across all campuses. Almost answered all the questions there. If they have any questions, they can write to our admissions department, and admission department will send mail to you. They will give answers to those kind of questions.
Yeah.
If you wish to interact, Rakshit can help you in that at some point of time. If some students would like to interact with our already existing students, they can also interact with them. But I think you can see our university department has written now on the chat box where you need to apply, where you have your queries, look at those queries in that case. So please follow the chat box and try to copy these
Uh,
addresses, apply for those
uh,
programs.
Hello, sorry to interrupt, sir. There are 2-3 questions just came up from Nikhil. He says, do we need to fill the forms of NMIMS separately, even if we select the college under NMET?
You please answer this question. No?
Yeah, yeah. So, Nikhil, when you fill, you have to fill the NMIMS form separately once you register for NMET exam. So you need to select NMIMS and then you can select multi-campus option for selecting various, for being part of various different campuses.
So what I can understand is that there will be a drop-down menu, and the drop-down menu will have multiple options. One of them will be Mumbai, Hyderabad like this, and there will be also one option which says multi-campus. So click on the multi-campus option. So you prepare the same test, but your score goes to all the campuses there. Am I right?
Yes. And also there is one more question. Sir, I could find Bachelor of Engineering and Bachelor of Technology, but not BBA. What should I fill under academic background or graduation degree name? So Malaika, you can write us on admissionsinquiry@nmims.edu and our counselor will help you with this query.
Since you know now that there is one email address, admissioninquiry@nmims.edu, you fill it up. Obviously, it will ask for your mobile number. We have a very responsive team. Our marketing team is very responsive, admission and marketing team. So they will definitely call you back in a do and help you in solving your problem, right? So in any case, always write back and they're very helpful to you in filling up your forms.
Also, sir, Sneha is asking, can we get the contact numbers of any alumni or existing students?
If you wish to share with her, you can share after this conversation.
Uh,
Please pass on your details to our admissions department. And if Sneha would like to admission inquiry at nmims.edu, seeking for some student's number, they will share these numbers, or you can say 4-5 of your classmate numbers should be available with them. They can pass on these numbers. Otherwise, all the phone calls will come to you. You can do that. You can, as a student, you can facilitate interaction of students there, but get that done through the admissions department.
You can also visit to our website www.nmimshyderabad.org, or if you have any queries, you can write it to the admission department. The the email ID is given in the chat box. Kindly go through it. So thank you everyone for joining with us today, and all the best for your preparations and entrances. May you all get what you all desire for. In case you have any other queries, you can write us back, and you can visit our website. So thank you so much, sir, for taking out your valuable time and sharing your insights with the new aspirants.
Thank you, Rakshit, for your time. Focus on
Thank,
your studies.
yeah, thank you, sir.
And thank you for helping us out. And thank you to the team in Mumbai for this arrangement. I'm looking forward to a few more interactions in future. Whenever students feel like interacting, we can do that part.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much.
Thank you, Rakshit.
Yeah, thank you.